The chamber fell silent as the holographic display showed another human. Colony burning, Ambassador Yun Jaiwu stood before the Sovereignty Council, her hands clenched at her sides as she watched New Seoul's orbital stations explode into clouds of debris. 16 million people lived on that world. Lived past tense. The Krethek Dominion didn't take prisoners, honored council members. Yun said, forcing her voice to remain steady. This is the 7th world we've lost in 3 months. The Krethek fleet moves through our territory like we don't exist. They ignore every attempt at communication, every offer of peace. They simply destroy and move on. Vexian representative, a tall creature with crystalline skin that reflected the chamber's blue lighting, made a dismissive gesture with 3 of its 4 arms. Ambassador Yun, humanity has been in space for barely 150 years. You expanded aggressively into territories the Krethek Dominion has claimed for millennia. This conflict was inevitable, Yun felt heat rise in her chest. We followed the sovereignty protocols. Every colony was registered. Every expansion request was approved by this council. We did everything by your rules, rules the Kretheks never agreed to, the Talvesh observer noted. The ancient being's voice carried a tone of weary resignation. Your species is new to galactic politics. The Krethek Dominion has existed for 3,000 years. They do not recognize the authority of younger species. Then what use is this council? Yun demanded. What purpose does the sovereignty compact serve if it won't protect its members? The chamber erupted in multiple languages. Some council members argued for intervention, others warned against provoking the Kretheks over the newcomers. Most simply looked uncomfortable, unwilling to risk their own security for a species that had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago. The Krethek war ascendant Thexver appeared on a secondary display, his reptilian features twisted in what humans had learned to recognize as contempt. The human infestation will be cleansed. Within 3 weeks, we will reduce them to their birth world, where they will remain as a reminder to other primitives about the cost of overreaching. Let the council debate. We act. The transmission ended. Yun stood alone at the speaker's platform, watching the council members avoid her gaze. She'd known this would happen. Everyone had known humanity was too new, too weak, too insignificant for the major powers to risk conflict over, but humanity hadn't survived extinction, events, world wars, and near self-annihilation by hoping others would save them. Yun touched the communicator in her ear, sending a coded signal. 3 words that would chain everything: light the fire far beyond Neptune's orbit, in a region of space deliberately left blank on all public star charts. Something stirred. The facility had been built 90 years ago, during the first contact crisis, when humanity first learned they weren't alone, and that the universe was far more dangerous than their optimistic scientists had imagined. Diplomacy had prevailed back then, and the facility had gone dark, its purpose classified beyond top secret, its existence known to fewer than 100 people across all human space. The USS Blackstar had been waiting in the cold and dark for 9 decades. Captain Alina Rodriguez walked onto the bridge of the massive vessel, her crew already at their stations. Every man and woman present had volunteered for this assignment, knowing they might never use these skills. They trained in secret, running simulations and drills for a war they hoped would never come. But when the Krethiks started burning human worlds, when the Council chose politics over justice, these people had been ready. Status report, Alina said, settling into the command chair. Reactor approaching full power. Chief Engineer Park Min-soo reported from his station. Fusion cores are stable. Antimatter injection systems are green. We'll have full power in 40 minutes. 10 did maybe 2012. Chief Engineer Park Min-soo, weapon systems charging. Lieutenant Chin called out, all banks responding, magazines are loaded and ready. Navigation has plotted the jump to New Busan system, the helm officer added. Krethik occupation fleet is confirmed at 47 vessels. There, stripping the mining colonies. Alina pulled up the tactical display and studied the enemy formation. 47 ships. By galactic standards, that was an overwhelming force. The Krethik Dominion built their vessels large and powerful, each one capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten slag. Their shields could absorb incredible amounts of energy. Their weapons could punch through standard defenses like tissue paper. But the Krethiks, like most of the galaxy, had spent the last few thousand years refining elegant solutions. Exotic matter manipulation, quantum shield harmonics, plasma containment fields. Then they pursued sophistication and efficiency, building weapons that were marvels of advanced physics. Humanity had taken a different path. When humans learned they were surrounded by species who'd been traveling the stars for millennia, who possessed technology that looked like magic, there had been panic. How could humanity possibly compete? How could they defend themselves against civilizations that had fusion power when Earth was still burning fossil fuels? The answer had been simple, if terrifying. Instead, they take the crude, brutal weapons they already understood and refine them to levels the galaxy had never imagined. Nuclear weapons, the galaxy considered them primitive and abandoned them for cleaner energy weapons. Humanity made them cleaner, more focused, and exponentially more powerful. Kinetic weapons, obsolete compared to particle beams except when you accelerated them to relativistic speeds and aimed them with inhuman precision. The Black Star represented humanity's answer to a hostile universe. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't sophisticated by galactic standards. It was a statement written in fire and physics. We will not go quietly, Captain. We have authentication codes from Earth. Command, the communications officer announced. We are weapons free. All protocols released. Alina looked at the faces of her crew. They were scared. She was scared. But fear had never stopped humanity. Before, take us to New Busan, she ordered. Show them what we are. Black Star's drives engaged, tearing a hole in space itself. The ship vanished from its hiding place, leaving only a brief distortion in the fabric of reality. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's reputation for violence wasn't propaganda or bluster. It was history, and history was about to repeat itself in the most spectacular way possible. Somewhere in the depth of space, war Ascendant Thexver continued his victory. Celebrations completely unaware that humanity's restraint had just ended. The Krethiks had wanted to see what humans were capable of when pushed to the edge. They were about to find out. War Ascendant Thexver watched the mining operations on New Busan with satisfaction. The human colony had resisted for 3 days before their orbital defenses collapsed. Now Krethik extraction teams pulled rare metals from the planet's crust, resources that would fuel the Dominions. Expansion for decades, a few 100,000 humans remained on the surface, broken and defeated, learning their proper place in the galactic order. War Ascendant, we have a contact, his sensor officer announced. Single vessel emerging from FTL at the system's edge. Thexver's inner eyelids flickered with amusement. Human. Yes, War Ascendant. Configuration is unknown. Approximately 800 m in length. It's not broadcasting any identification. 800 m. Barely a cruiser by Krethik standards. Thexver had 47 warships under his command, including his flagship that measured 3 times that size. Humans were either desperate or insane. Perhaps they've come to beg for their colonists, his tactical officer suggested. Let them approach, Thexver ordered. When they're in range, destroy them. Let the survivors watch their rescuers die. The human vessel moved deeper into the system with steady purpose. It didn't hail. It didn't transmit surrender requests or negotiation offers. It simply continued on a direct course toward the Krethik fleet, its trajectory showing no attempt at evasive maneuvering. Should we warn them off? War Ascendant, the communications officer asked. Thexver considered it. There were protocols for such things, warnings and challenges that preceded combat, but the Dominion had issued plenty of warnings to humanity already. Their worlds burned because they'd ignored them. Fire a warning salvo across their bow. Let them see our power. 3 Krethik destroyers opened fire, their plasma cannons sending brilliant streaks of superheated matter across the human ship's path. The energy discharge could have vaporized a mountain. The human vessel continued forward, apparently unimpressed. Target their engines, Thexver ordered. Disable them. The destroyers adjusted their aim and fired again, direct hits that should have crippled any known vessel. The human ship's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the impacts. Then the shields faded back to their normal luminescence, completely undamaged. Thexver felt his first flicker of unease. All destroyers concentrate fire. Full intensity. Now 12 ships opened fire together, a coordinated barrage that represented enough firepower to crack Moon. The human vessel's shields absorbed it all, the blue glow intensifying but holding firm, and still the ship kept coming. War Ascendant. They're powering weapons, finally, Thexver said. Show me what pathetic. The human ship fired. The weapon wasn't like anything in the Krethik arsenal. There was no visible beam, no plasma bolt, no particle stream. There was simply a moment where space itself seemed to twist, followed by 3 Krethik cruisers exploding simultaneously. Not damaged, not crippled, exploding. Their hulls rupturing from internal detonations that reduced them to expanding clouds of superheated gas and debris. Report, Thexver roared. Unknown weapon type. The sensor officer's voice shook. Energy readings are War Ascendant. Those were focused gamma-ray bursts. Nuclear intensity, they punched straight through our shields like they weren't. They're impossible. Nuclear weapons are primitive. Our shields are designed against quantum level. Another salvo. 4 more Krethik ships died, their armor boiling away under thermal loads that exceeded design specifications by orders of magnitude. The human weapon didn't try to overwhelm the shields through elegant physics manipulation. It simply hit them with so much raw energy that the shields became irrelevant. All ships evasive action. Return fire all weapons. The Krethik fleet scattered dozens of warships, launching everything they had at the single human vessel. Plasma cannons, particle accelerators, quantum torpedoes. The combined firepower could have sterilized a planet. The human ship's shields flared constantly now, bright blue light washing across its hull, but the shields held, and the human ship kept firing. Thexver watched his fleet die. Every time the human vessel fired, Krethik ships exploded. There was no pattern to defend against, no weakness to exploit. The humans were using what the galaxy considered obsolete technology, but they'd refined it to terrifying levels of effectiveness. Launch kinetic interceptors, Thexver ordered desperately. If we can't penetrate their shields, we'll crush them with mass. 6 heavy cruisers launched swarms of solid projectile, massive chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. Thousands of them filled the space between the fleets. The human ships' point defense systems activated, and Thexver felt his hope die. Streams of what looked like simple railgun fire intersected every single incoming projectile, reducing them to harmless fragments or deflecting them away from the hull. They're targeting us directly. War Ascendant. Thexver looked at the tactical display. The human ship had adjusted course and now drove straight toward his flagship, not maneuvering around the Krethik fleet, not trying elegant tactics, simply pushing through, taking hits that would have destroyed any other vessel, and returning fire that deleted his ships from existence. All vessels, concentrate fire on that ship. Everything we have, the entire Krethik fleet focused on the single human vessel. The energy discharge lit up the system. Sensor arrays overloading from the sheer intensity. For a moment, Thexver thought they had succeeded. The human ship disappeared behind a wall of explosions and energy discharge. Then it emerged, shield still glowing, still advancing. 17 Krethik ships now. Then 14. Then 9. War Ascendant. We must retreat. We are the Krethik Dominion. We do not flee from primitives. Thexver slammed his fist against his command throne, helm ramming speed. If we cannot kill them from range, we'll tear them apart with our hull. The flagship's massive drives pushed it forward, accelerating toward the human vessel. At their combined speeds, the impact would be catastrophic for both ships. Thexver didn't care anymore. This human ship had humiliated the Dominion, had destroyed 40 ships in less than 20 minutes. He would take it down with his death if necessary. The human ship adjusted its heading slightly. New weapons ports opened along its hull. Smaller than the main batteries, Thexver had a moment to wonder what they were before the point defense grid opened. Fire at maximum intensity. His flagship disintegrated, not exploded. Disintegrated. Thousands of railgun rounds, each one traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, hit. The flagship's bow, the kinetic energy, was so extreme that the ship's armor didn't shatter or melt, it simply ceased to exist. Molecular bonds overcome by pure kinetic force, the destruction raced backward along the hull faster than Thexver could process what was happening. His last thought was that the galaxy had been wrong about humanity. They weren't primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. They were apex predators who'd been holding back, hoping they wouldn't need to show their teeth. The flagship's reactor breached, adding a small sun to the debris field. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the last Krethic vessel break apart on her displays. 17 minutes from first contact to complete fleet destruction. She felt no joy in it, no satisfaction, just a cold certainty that this was necessary. Status report, she said quietly. Shields at 73% and recharging. Chief Engineer Park reported. Hull damage is minimal. We took some hits that got through, but nothing critical. We're fully operational. Any Krethic survivors? Detecting 17 escape pods. Some of them are broadcasting distress signals. Elena nodded. Dispatch recovery drones. Bring them aboard and provide medical attention. Then open a channel on all frequencies. She waited for the communications officer to signal ready, then spoke clearly. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Blackstar to all Krethic forces in human territory. New Busan is liberated. You have 24 hours to withdraw from all human systems, any Krethic military vessel found in our space after that deadline will be destroyed without warning. She paused, letting that sink in. We don't want this war. We never did, but if you force us to fight, we will burn everything you send against us. Leave now, while you still can. The transmission ended. Elena sat back in her chair, looking at the debris field that had been a Krethic occupation fleet. Somewhere out there, the Sovereignty Council was receiving reports of this battle. They'd be terrified, she knew. Humanity had just demonstrated capabilities no one expected, using weapons the galaxy considered obsolete. Good, let them be afraid. Fear bred respect, and humanity desperately needed both. Set course for the next occupied system, she ordered. We have 6 more colonies to liberate, and if the Krethics want to send more fleets, we'll show them the same courtesy we showed this one. The Black Star turned away from New Busan, leaving behind a planet freed from occupation and a debris field that would become legend. The fire had been lit, and it would not be extinguished until every human world was free. The Sovereignty Council's emergency session convened within hours of the New Busan incident. Holographic projections filled the chamber, showing the debris field from dozens of angles. 47 Krethic warships reduced to scrap in 17 minutes by a single human vessel. Ambassador Yun stood at the speaker's platform again, but this time the council members weren't avoiding her gaze. They were staring at her with expressions ranging from shock to outright fear. You said humanity was defenseless, the Vexian representative accused. You pleaded for our intervention because your species couldn't protect itself. This was a deception. We asked for help because we hoped to avoid this. Yun replied calmly. The Black Star represents humanity's worst-case scenario. The weapon we built when we realized the galaxy might not be friendly. We hoped we'd never need to use it. How many more ships like this do you have? The Tal'Darim observer asked. Yun smiled. Slightly. Enough. That simple answer sent ripples through the council. In truth, humanity had 3 more vessels of similar capability, with 2 still under construction. But the galaxy didn't need to know the exact numbers. Let them wonder. Let them imagine humanity had a dozen such ships hidden away. The Krethik Dominion has issued a declaration. The Luminar Compact representative spoke. Their species was known for peaceful mediation, which made their next words all the more shocking. They're committing their 2nd and 5th armadas to hunt down and destroy the Blackstar. Over 300 warships. They're going to throw fleets at it until it breaks, the Vexian said. Even that monster can't stand against those numbers, Yun said. Nothing. She simply waited, knowing that somewhere in human space, Captain Rodriguez had received the same intelligence and was already moving to intercept. The Blackstar didn't wait for the Krethik armadas to coordinate their attack. Elena had learned long ago that initiative won battles. Let the enemy react to you, not the other way around. Contact at the FTL jump point, Lieutenant Chen reported. Krethik Patrol Squadron 8. Destroyers, standard ambush formation. Elena noted, studying the tactical display. The Krethiks had positioned themselves at the edge of the system, waiting to catch human ships as they emerged from faster-than-light travel. Vulnerable during the few seconds it took to reorient. Take us in, Elena ordered. The Blackstar dropped out of FTL precisely where the Krethiks expected. Their weapons were already firing, plasma bolts converging on the human ship's last known position. But Elena had anticipated this. The Blackstar emerged with its momentum already angled away from the trap. Shields at maximum strength, weapons hot. The ambush lasted 43 seconds. When it ended, 8 more Krethik vessels joined the growing list of destroyed ships. Next target, Elena asked. Chief Engineer Park pulled up a list of reported Krethik positions. Supply depot at Kepler Station. Heavily defended. They're using it as a staging area for reinforcements. Perfect. Plot a course. For the next 3 days, the Blackstar sat in orbit above Kepler Station and systematically destroyed every Krethik vessel that arrived. Some came alone, responding to distress calls. Others arrived in groups, thinking numbers would overwhelm the human ship. None of them left. The crew watched the battle counter climb. 17 ships on day 1, 23 on day 2, 14 on day 3. As the Krethiks finally learned to stop sending reinforcements, they're adapting, Weapons Officer Chen observed. During a brief lull, that last group tried to jump in at maximum range, hit us from multiple angles. Simultaneously, still died though. Park noted grimly from his engineering station. Their shields can't handle our weapons. The physics don't work in their favor. 2000, Elena listened to her crew discuss the battles with a mix of professional pride and deep unease. They were good at this. Too good. Humanity had spent thousands of years perfecting warfare against itself. And now those hard lessons were being applied against species who'd grown comfortable with their technological superiority. Captain, I'm picking up a Contact on long-range sensors, the communications officer announced. It's broadcasting Krethik Medical. Transponders. Hospital ship with civilian transport. Escorts. Elena sat forward. Here was the test. The Krethik hospital ship was fleeing. The combat zone. Probably filled with wounded from previous engagements. The transports likely carried civilian refugees. Krethik's abandoning the forward territories as the human advance. Continued weapons status. She asked, locked and ready, Captain. We can intercept in 20 minutes, Elena. Thought about the burned colonies. The millions of humans killed in unprovoked attacks. The Krethik war ascendant who'd boasted about reducing humanity to their homeworld. It would be so easy to destroy these ships, to show the Krethiks that humanity could be just as merciless. Stand down. Weapons, she ordered. The Krethik commander appeared on screen, his reptilian features showing obvious fear. He started to speak, probably to plead for mercy. But Elena cut him off. You're carrying wounded and civilians. We're not going to fire on you. Continue your course out of human space, but understand this. We're letting you go because we choose mercy, not because we lack the capability to destroy you. Tell your military commanders that humanity draws a line between soldiers and innocents. We're not monsters, we're not conquerors, but we will burn every military asset you have until you stop attacking us. The Krethik commander stared at her for a long moment, then gave what humans had learned to recognize as a gesture of respect. I will convey your message, Captain. I will also report that you honored the conventions of war when your enemies did not. The transmission ended. The hospital ship and its escorts continued away from the combat zone. Unmolested, Sir Chen said quietly. The second armada is moving to intercept us. They figured out our position. Elena pulled up the tactical data. 147 Krethik warships moving in a coordinated formation designed to trap a single vessel. They'd learned from previous engagements, approaching from multiple vectors to prevent escape. They think they can corner us. Park observed. Let them think that. Elena said, take us into the Helios asteroid field. Dense formation. Lots of cover. Make them work for it. The Blackstar dove into the asteroid field, a chaotic region of tumbling rock and ice that made sensor tracking difficult. The Krethik armada followed, breaking into smaller groups to search the field. Efficiently, they'd made a critical mistake. They'd entered terrain that favored the human ship. The running battle through the asteroid field lasted 6 hours. The Blackstar would emerge from behind a large asteroid, fire a devastating salvo, then disappear back into cover. Before the Krethiks could concentrate their return fire, the asteroids themselves became weapons as the Black Star's kinetic batteries shattered them into clouds of high-velocity fragments that tore through Krethik shields. Krethiks tried everything. They attempted to drive the Blackstar into kill zones with coordinated sweeps. They used the asteroids for cover, themselves setting their own ambushes. They even tried to collapse portions of the field with massive energy discharges, hoping to bury the human ship under falling rock. Nothing worked. Captain Rodriguez and her crew knew this environment, had trained for exactly this kind of combat. They turned the asteroid field into a shooting gallery where Krethik Numbers meant nothing in the Black Star's ability to shrug off damage made it nearly invincible. When the Second Armada finally retreated, they'd lost 89 vessels. The Black Star emerged from the asteroid field with shield strength at 40% and minor hull damage that Park's engineering teams were already repairing. Captain, were receiving a transmission from Earth Command. The communications officer reported. They want us to return for resupply and crew rotation. Alina shook her head. Tell them negative. We're not done. Every day we spend docked is another day. The Krethiks have to reorganize. We keep the pressure on, sir. The crew has been in combat rotation for 6 weeks. We need rest. The colonists on the occupied worlds don't get rest, Alina said quietly. Neither do we. Not until they're all free. She knew she was pushing her people hard. Knew that they were tired. That the constant combat was wearing them down. But she also knew that momentum was everything in war. The Black Star had the Krethiks reeling, unsure how to counter a threat that violated all their assumptions about combat. If humanity gave them time to adapt, to develop new strategies, the advantage would slip away. Plot a course for the next occupied system, she ordered. We've liberated 4 colonies. We have 6 more to go. And then we're taking the fight into Krethik territory proper. They want to know what we're capable of. We'll show them. We'll show the entire galaxy that humanity doesn't start wars, but we sure as hell know how to finish them. The Black Star turned toward its next target, leaving behind another debris field and another legend. Across Krethik space, military commanders were beginning to panic. Across the Sovereignty Council, species were reevaluating their understanding of humanity, and in the depths of their hidden shipyards, humans were building more vessels like the Black Star, preparing for a future where they would never again have to beg others for protection. The fire was spreading and it showed no signs of stopping. The Sovereignty Council chamber had never been this full. Every member species had sent their highest representatives. Even species who normally avoided council politics had arrived, drawn by reports of the human warship that was systematically dismantling one of the galaxy's major military powers. Ambassador Yun stood at the center of it all, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Black Star's campaign. 73 systems liberated or abandoned by Krethik forces, 4 entire armadas shattered, economic projections showing the Krethik Dominion facing potential collapse within months if the losses continued. This must stop, the Vexian representative declared, its crystalline form reflecting the blue light of the displays. The Black Star has proven its point. Humanity can defend itself, but this has gone beyond defense. You're destroying an entire civilization. We're destroying their military capability. Yun corrected calmly. Every engagement has been against armed vessels. Every colony that surrendered was treated fairly. Every civilian transport has been allowed safe passage. The Krethiks started this war by burning our worlds without warning. We're ending it by removing their ability to threaten anyone ever again. You speak of restraint, another council member interjected. But our intelligence reports suggest you have additional vessels of this class. How many? Where are they? Yun smiled. The Black Star is our mercy. our willingness to show the galaxy that we can be reasoned with. Would you prefer to meet the ships we built for war, without restraint, load, with the end hope servant, the chamber fell silent. It was a bluff. Mostly, humanity had 3 more vessels, approaching operational status, but they weren't significantly more powerful than the Blackstar. The difference was psychological, not practical, but the Council didn't know that, and their fear was doing more to protect humanity than any fleet could. Talvesh Collective has completed its analysis of human weapons technology. Their species had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years and were considered the galaxy's foremost experts on military technology. The results are troubling. A new holographic display appeared, showing detailed breakdowns of Blackstar's weapon systems. Yun recognized the gamma-ray lance configurations, the relativistic kinetic batteries, the point defense grids. All of it was supposed to be classified. But she wasn't surprised the Talvesh had figured it out. These weapons are not sophisticated by our standards, the Talvesh continued. They don't manipulate exotic matter. They don't use quantum entanglement for targeting. They're based on principles we mastered and abandoned thousands of years ago as crude and inefficient. Then, why are they so effective? The Luminar representative asked. Because humanity never stopped developing them. While we pursued elegance and efficiency, they pursued pure output. A gamma-ray lance is simple physics, a focused nuclear explosion channeled through magnetic containment. We abandon them because they're difficult to power and create dangerous radiation. Humans solve the power problem and learn to focus the radiation so precisely that it becomes a surgical weapon. They took our discarded tools and perfected them. The Talvesh paused, letting that sink in. The real concern is what this tells us about human psychology. They didn't invent new physics. They took the most destructive weapons they could understand and made them better. This is a species that has spent its entire existence perfecting the art of killing itself. Now they're applying those lessons to galactic warfare. Are you suggesting humanity is a threat to the entire galaxy? The Vexian demanded. I'm suggesting that humanity is what happens when a violent, aggressive species is left alone to develop without guidance. They've been in space for 150 years. In that time, they've built weapons that can challenge civilizations thousands of years older. What will they be capable of in another century? Yun felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice level. The Talvesh Collective is correct that humanity has a violent history. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times before we reached space. But they're wrong about what that means. We didn't learn how to build better weapons. We learned when to stop using them. Blackstar could have bombarded Krethic colonies. It could have killed billions in retaliation for our losses. It hasn't. That's the lesson we learned from our violent past. Knowing when to show mercy is more important than knowing how to kill. Noble words, the Vexian said. But the Krethic Dominion is preparing something desperate. Our intelligence has intercepted communications about a planet killer weapon. If they can't stop the Blackstar conventionally, they're considering using it against Earth itself. The planet killer weapons existed Ancient technology that most species possessed but never used. Held as the ultimate deterrent, the idea that the Krethiks would actually deploy. One crossed lines that even the most cynical council members thought were sacrosanct. This is the danger, the Talvish said. Humanity has pushed the Krethiks to the point of desperation. They will do anything to stop the Black Star, including actions that will destabilize the entire galactic order. Yun accessed her communicator, sending an urgent message to Earth Command. If the Krethiks launched a planet killer, humanity had to be ready to respond. But how did you defend against a weapon designed to crack planets? The Council must decide, the Luminar representative said. Do we intervene to stop the Krethiks from using the planet killer? Or do we allow this conflict to reach its natural conclusion? Well, this is way have to plan. Way have doing teller. You mean, do we protect humanity or let the Krethiks solve your human problem for you? Yun said bitterly. Ambassador, that's not fair, the Talvish responded. Many of us opposed the Krethic aggression from the beginning, but we also can't ignore the threat that human military capability poses to galactic stability. Quote, the debate raged for hours. Species argued about intervention, about principles, about the balance of power. Yun listened to it all with growing frustration. The galaxy was so concerned about human military strength that they were missing the larger point. Humanity didn't want to be warriors. They wanted to be explorers, scientists, traders, but the galaxy had taught them that respect came through strength, and now everyone was surprised that humans had learned the lesson. Finally, 3 species broke ranks. The Talvish, despite their concerns about human psychology, voted to share intelligence about the planet killer with humanity. The Luminar, compact, true to their principles of protecting innocent life, voted the same. And surprisingly, the Vexians joined them, citing the importance of maintaining the taboo against planet killer weapons. The Council will provide humanity with full intelligence on the Krethic planet killer weapon, including its trajectory and capabilities, the Talvish announced. We will also offer military support to intercept it before it reaches Earth. Yun felt a wave of relief, then caught herself. This wasn't altruism. The Council species were terrified that if a planet killer was actually used, it would shatter the fragile peace that kept the galaxy from descending into total warfare. They were protecting their own interests as much as humanity's. We appreciate the intelligence, Yun said carefully, but we decline the military support. Humanity will handle the planet killer ourselves. Ambassador, that's madness. The Luminar representative protested. You can't possibly intercept a weapon of that magnitude without what? Without help from species who sat and watched our colonies burn. Without support from a council that only acts when it suits their own interests. Yun's voice was hard now. Humanity has learned to rely on ourselves. We'll stop the planet killer. And then Captain Rodriguez is going to finish what the Krethiks started. She ended the connection before anyone could respond, leaving the council chamber in uproar. As the hologram faded, Yun allowed herself a moment of exhaustion. She was so tired of political games, of species treating humanity like children or threats, but never equals. Her communicator chimed. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared. The bridge of the Blackstar visible behind her. We received the intelligence from Council sources, Elena said. The planet killer is en route to Earth. 6-week transit time through FTL. We're moving to intercept, but Ambassador, even the Blackstar can't take a direct hit from that weapon. You won't have to, Yun replied. Earth Command is dispatching the Horizon's Edge and the Prometheus to join you. Our other capital ships are coming out of hiding. The galaxy wanted to see what we're capable of when pushed. Show them, Captain. Show them all. Elena's expression was grim. We're 3 days from Krethik Prime. Their home fleet is their last major defensive force. 400 warships. If we go through them, we'll be at the heart of their civilization, I know. And when you get there, remember that we're fighting for peace, not revenge. The Krethiks need to learn that humanity can be brutal when necessary, but that we choose mercy when possible. Burn their fleet, spare their world. Show them what we are, understood. Blackstar out. The transmission ended. Yun sat alone in the human delegation's quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Captain Rodriguez and her crew were preparing for the largest battle of this war, and somewhere else, a planet killer weapon was racing toward Earth, carrying the Krethik's last desperate gamble. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity had always known. That humans were at their most dangerous, not when they were winning, but when they were cornered and fighting for everything they loved. The Krethiks had started this war thinking humanity was weak. They were about to learn their mistake in the most devastating way possible. And the Sovereignty Council, which had refused to help when help was needed, would have to watch and wonder if they'd made the right choice in letting humanity fight alone. Because after this was over, there would be no going back. Humanity would emerge from this conflict as either a respected power or a terrifying threat. The Council's indecision had ensured they'd have no say in which it would be. The Krethik Emperor stood before the holographic display showing his crumbling empire. 73 systems lost, hundreds of ships destroyed. His military commanders argued and blamed each other, but none of them had solutions. The human vessel called Blackstar had done what should have been impossible, breaking the power that the Dominion had spent 3,000 years building. The planet killer has launched, his war council leader reported. The Emperor's inner eyelids flickered with uncertainty. And if they do stop it, if they have hidden capabilities we haven't seen, then it won't matter. The War Council leader said grimly. Our home fleet is the last defense. 400 warships, our finest vessels, crewed by our most experienced warriors. Even if the humans have more ships like the Blackstar, they cannot overcome such numbers defending our home world. The Emperor wasn't so sure. Everything they'd believed about human capabilities had been proven wrong. But what choice did he have? The planet killer was already launched. The home fleet was positioned. All he could do now was wait and pray to the old gods that Krethik's strength would prove sufficient. 3 days later, the USS Blackstar emerged at the edge of the Krethik Prime system. But it wasn't alone. 2 more human vessels appeared alongside it, slightly smaller but clearly of similar design. The Horizon's Edge and the Prometheus, humanity's other capital ships, had come out of hiding on the Blackstar's bridge, Captain Alina. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. 400 Krethik warships in defensive formation around their home world. It was every ship the Dominion had left. Their absolute final reserve. Behind them, billions of Krethik. Civilians lived their lives, unaware that the war was about to arrive at their doorstep. Captain were receiving a transmission from the Krethik home fleet. The communications officer reported. They're demanding we withdraw or be destroyed. Alina didn't respond to the Krethik message. Instead, she opened a channel to the horizon's edge and Prometheus. All ships. This is Rodriguez. You know the plan. We go straight through their formation. Don't stop. Don't slow down. Our shields can take their weapons. Keep firing until they break or surrender. But remember, our goal is their fleet, not their planet. We're here to end the war, not commit genocide. Acknowledgements came back immediately. Both ships were commanded by officers Alina trusted, people who understood the difference between necessary force and meaningless cruelty. All ships advance. The 3 human vessels accelerated toward the Krethik formation at maximum combat speed. The home fleet opened fire at extreme range. Hundreds of weapons creating a wall of energy that filled space itself. The human ship's shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed the onslaught, and the humans fired back. The gamma ray lances struck first, invisible beams of focused radiation that punched through Krethik shields and boiled armor from the inside out. Then the kinetic batteries opened up, relativistic projectiles that hit with the force of tactical nuclear weapons. The Krethik front line simply disappeared. 23 ships destroyed in the opening salvo. Maintain course, Alina ordered as her ship shuddered from incoming fire. All batteries, continuous fire. Target their capital ships first. The battle that followed was brief but apocalyptic. The 3 human vessels drove straight through the Krethik defensive formation, like spears through cloth. They didn't try to maneuver elegantly or avoid damage. They simply tanked everything the Krethiks threw at them and returned fire that deleted entire squadrons. The Krethik home fleet had never lost a major engagement in their 3,000 history. They were experienced, disciplined, and fighting to protect their home world. None of it mattered. The humans fought with a terrible efficiency that the Krethiks couldn't match, using weapons that violated every assumption about proper warfare. Within the first hour, the Krethik fleet had lost a third of its ships. Within the second hour, over half the surviving vessels tried everything, ramming attacks that the human point defense shredded before they could connect, coordinated strikes that couldn't penetrate shields designed to absorb nuclear-level impacts, desperate retreats that only exposed them to more devastating fire. Chief Engineer Park monitored the Blackstar's systems with growing concern. Captain, shields are down to 40%. We're taking more damage than any previous engagement. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Can we maintain combat operations? Yes. But if we take many more direct hits, then we'll take them, Alina said flatly. We don't stop until this is over. 2 hours into the battle, the Krethik home fleet ceased to exist as a coherent fighting force. Scattered groups of ships fled toward the outer system. Individual vessels drifted, crippled, and helpless. The space around Krethik Prime was filled with debris, and expanding gas clouds were proud. Warships had once stood, the three human vessels sat above the Krethik home world, their weapons still charged, their shields battered but holding. Below them, billions of Krethiks waited for the bombardment that would surely come, for the revenge that humanity had every right to claim. Elena opened a channel on all frequencies, broadcasting to every receiver in the Krethik system. People of the Krethik Dominion, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Blackstar. Your fleet is destroyed. Your military power is broken. We have the capability to reduce your home world to ash. She paused, letting the words sink in. But we won't, because that's not who we are. She pulled up the data stream showing the planet killer weapon transmitted by the Sovereignty Council. Your Emperor launched a weapon at Earth, a planet killer designed to destroy our home world and everyone on it. We could do the same to you. We could be the monsters you thought we were, but we're not going to take revenge on civilians for the crimes of your military. The transmission included full technical readouts of the planet killer, its trajectory, its capabilities, and then it showed something else. Footage of human frigate squadrons intercepting the weapon 2 weeks earlier, disabling it with precise strikes that neutralized its warheads without triggering them. The Krethiks had never known the weapon failed. The humans had stopped it and said nothing, letting the Krethiks believe their last desperate gamble was still in play. We stopped your planet killer, Elena continued, not because we lacked the ability to use our own, but because destroying worlds isn't something civilized species should do. We're fighting this war to protect our people, not to commit genocide. Your military chose war. Your emperor chose escalation. But your civilians don't deserve to die. For those choices, she looked directly into the camera, knowing her words were being heard across the Krethik Dominion and likely being transmitted throughout the galaxy by countless intelligence services. Humanity came to the stars hoping for peace. We found indifference and then war. The Black Star and her sisters were built because we learned that respect isn't freely given in this galaxy. You have to earn it. We've earned it now. Written in the wreckage of 4 armadas and painted across your home sky. But respect without mercy is just tyranny. We want peace. We've always wanted peace. Your military forced us to show our strength. Now we're choosing to show our mercy. 14. We've knew. The broadcast ended. For several minutes, there was silence across every channel. Then the Krethik Emperor himself appeared on screen, his scaled features showing exhaustion and something that looked like relief. Captain Rodriguez, the Krethik Dominion, formally requests terms of surrender. The negotiations took 6 hours. Elena insisted on involving Ambassador Yun via type beam communication, knowing that diplomacy was outside her expertise. The terms were surprisingly moderate: complete withdrawal from all human territory, reparations for colony reconstruction, an exchange of embassies and diplomatic missions, and mutual defense clauses that would bind the Krethiks and humanity to defend each other if either faced external threats. The Krethiks agreed to everything. They had no choice. But more than that, they seemed to recognize that humanity was offering them a dignified exit from a war they'd started and lost. The alternative was continued devastation until nothing remained of their military power. Ambassador Yun arrived via diplomatic transport for the formal treaty signing. She stood in orbit above Krethik Prime, surrounded by the debris of the home fleet, and addressed both the Krethiks and the watching galaxy. Humanity didn't want this war. We asked the Sovereignty Council for help and were refused. We were told we were too new, too weak, too insignificant to matter, so we stopped asking for permission and started taking care of ourselves. Her voice was hard. The Blackstar and her sisters represent humanity's answer to a galaxy that judges strength. Above all else, we can be as brutal as any species when we need to be. But we choose not to be, unless we have no other choice. The Talvish observer, present via hologram, spoke up. The Sovereignty Council recognizes that its inaction forced humanity to take measures that have destabilized the galactic order. We also recognize that humanity's restraint in victory demonstrates qualities that the galaxy desperately needs. The Council formally recognizes humanity's full membership status and extends protection under the Covenant of Civilized Worlds. Better late than never, Yun said dryly. But we'll accept. Not because we need your protection anymore, but because we still believe in the ideals the sovereignty was supposed to represent: peace, cooperation, species working together instead of conquering each other. She looked at the Krethik Emperor. Your military attacked us because they thought we were weak. They were wrong. But I hope both our species can learn from this. Strength doesn't have to mean conquest. Power doesn't have to mean oppression. We can be strong and still choose peace. That's what separates civilized species from barbarians. The treaty was signed. The Krethik Dominion would withdraw from human space and pay reparations. Humanity would cease military operations and return to defensive postures. Both species would establish embassies and work toward lasting peace. As the ceremonies concluded, Captain Rodriguez stood on the Blackstar's bridge and watched her crew. They looked exhausted. The ship showed damage from dozens of engagements: hull plates scarred and blackened, shield generators running at reduced capacity. They'd fought for months without rest, liberated every occupied colony, and brought the war to the enemy's home world. Captain Earth Command is requesting we return for repairs and crew rotation, Chief Engineer Park reported. Tell them we're coming home, Elena said quietly. But first, plot a course past New Sol. I want to see what we fought for. Blackstar limped through human space, passing colony after colony that was beginning to rebuild. New Sol's orbital stations were under reconstruction, new structures rising. From the ruins, the planet's surface showed scars from the Krethik occupation, but also signs of recovery. Humanity was resilient. They always had been. 6 months later, the USS Blackstar underwent formal decommissioning at Luna shipyards. Ship that had burned its way through the Krethik Dominion would be preserved as a museum, a reminder of what humanity was capable of when pushed to the edge. But 3 new vessels were already under construction at hidden facilities. Not pure warships like the Blackstar, but exploration and defense platforms that could protect human interests while supporting the peaceful expansion humanity had always wanted. The galaxy had forced humanity to become warriors. Now humanity would show them that warriors could also be builders, explorers, and friends. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at a viewport on Luna Station, looking at the Black Star one last time. The ship had done its job. It had shown the galaxy that humanity couldn't be bullied or ignored, that respect had to be earned. But so did trust, that the fire that consumed the Krethic war machine could also warm those who chose friendship over conflict. The galaxy was learning what humans had always known, that the most dangerous species wasn't the one with the biggest weapons, but the one who knew when to use them and when to put them away. Humanity had lit its fire and shown what it could do. Now it was time to show what could be built in the light of those flames. Peace, understanding, a future where no species had to build a black star because the galaxy finally learned to protect its own. That future was worth fighting for. And if necessary, it was worth fighting for again.